Hey everyone, it's been a while since I recorded a YouTube video, but I'm back. And I'm back because God has been placing on my heart to record my full testimony. So here I am sharing with you how good God has been in my life, how He has transformed me, how He has changed me, how He has renewed me, how He has restored me. And yeah, I just can't keep quiet anymore of the glory of God. Let's go all the way back to, I would say, 2016, where for the first time I felt a sense of depression. I didn't know what that was before then, but for the first time, I believe it was 2016, I was in college getting my bachelor's degree. I understood what depression was, but I didn't understand what was happening and how to express that I was depressed. I had just gotten out of my first relationship and I felt like I had to follow my mother's footsteps and just be with one person for the rest of my life. Even though I knew this relationship wasn't for me, it wasn't what God had planned for me, I felt like I had to stay. I couldn't disappoint my parents. So I stayed longer than I should have. And that ended up me being really depressed. I got out of that relationship, felt like I was a disappointment to my parents. And then I kind of just went downhill from there. It was the drinking, it was the partying. The depression continued. It got so bad to the point where I no longer wanted to be here. I was actually like planning it and thinking it out and thinking how it would happen, how I would go about it. It got to that point, and I was fighting silently. I believe there was only one friend that she knew I was depressed but didn't know the severity. I don't think anyone in my life really knew the severity. Oh, here we go. So fast forward, by the grace of God, I started working out. That is when I really found my love for working out, and I feel like that is one of the reasons, one of the things that really helped me heal. So I really started focusing on fitness. It helped take my mind off of everything. I would wake up, I couldn't really sleep. So I would wake up at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, have a home workout, get ready, drive an hour to the city to class, and then I'll be there all day. And that continued up until 2018 when I graduated college. And by the time I graduated, I felt healed. I felt like I was no longer depressed. I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, like I was living in the light at the end of the tunnel. Everything was great. Then in 2018, I get into another relationship. And that relationship lasted just about 5 years. And it wasn't until I would say like the third year into that relationship, I felt like something was missing. Something just wasn't sitting right, and I kept ignoring it, and I kept ignoring it, and I kept ignoring it. And I feel like now looking back, one, I know that that's not the relationship God had for me and God wanted me in. And I almost feel like that was His nudging, like, girl, you're not supposed to be in this relationship. Like, you've ignored my calling for way too long. You're not supposed to be in this relationship. This is not my will for you. So I ignored it. I ignored it. I ran from it. I did everything I could to like restore that feeling that I first had when I entered that relationship. I just tried it all, and God, I feel like He was telling me no, like this is not my will for you, like, and this person wasn't a bad person at all, but it wasn't what God wanted for me. So fast forward to 2022, me and this person move in together. I moved in with this person thinking that all the problems are gonna disappear. Everything was gonna be fixed. We would have our own space. I would have my space. He would have his space. Like, I would have time to be alone if I wanted to be alone, or be with that person if I wanted to be with that person. Long story short, that is not what happened at all. I feel like if anything, we grew further apart. And I also feel like I was very like I didn't know how to explain my emotions. I didn't know how to express what I was feeling. I didn't know how to say I'm depressed. I don't know what's going on. I don't have a grip over my life anymore. Like, I was losing it, and I was losing it in silence. And all I could tell this person was, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't know what's wrong. I just don't want to be here anymore. I'm not happy. Like, That's all I could really say. But a part of me also knew that I was struggling in this relationship. I was struggling to feel something. I was struggling to feel those butterflies, like everyone says. And I didn't know why. I didn't know what was going wrong. I didn't know where we went wrong. And that was hurting me because I'm like, I'm looking at this person and he's not a bad person. But why don't I feel these things anymore? Why don't I want to be with this person anymore? And that hurt for so long. And I kept fighting, trying to get those feelings back, get those butterflies back, just trying to fix this relationship. Long story short, God continuously said no. And at the time, I didn't realize it was God telling me no. I almost felt like, I don't know what's wrong. It's me. I'm broken. I blamed it on so many things. And when in reality, like, this was not God's will for me. So fast forward to the start of 2024. I had suffered a concussion at work, and it put me out of work for a few weeks, few months actually. And the depression hit even harder. I felt like I was trapped in a box and my soul was screaming to get me out, and I didn't know what was going on. Like my soul was yelling, and I just wanted to scream. That's the only thing I could really like describe. I just wanted to scream all the time. Like I was being this person on the outside, but the inside of me, I was not okay. I was not happy. I was struggling to even wake up in the morning. I was struggling to do daily activities. I didn't want to work out anymore. And then also, like, working out was the only thing that could take my mind off of it, but just getting to the gym was a struggle. I had no enjoyment in life at all. Like, I didn't know what was going on. I thought maybe it's because I'm not working, or like I was also back in school. I thought maybe it could be the stress of school. I was in school getting my master's again, so that was a heavy load. But I was just struggling, and I didn't understand why. I didn't understand what was going on. So at this point, me and this person, like, we're recognizing that there's something wrong in this relationship. There's something missing. Like, we're just not who we were when we first met. So we tried to talk about it. I just kept saying, like, I don't want to be here anymore and I don't understand why. And I was very apprehensive to going to therapy, because if you're Spanish, it's looked down upon. Like, you don't have any problems, you shouldn't be struggling mentally, or you shouldn't seek mental help. And I'm completely against that. Please, please, please seek a therapist. If you need help, go get yourself a therapist. So this went on for months, actually. Fast forward to about June, the depression was still there. Everything was still there. If anything, it was getting worse. And I remember one night this person asked me, I kept saying, I don't want to be here anymore. And he asked me, where do you want to be? And I said, in heaven. And that was a cry for help. Like, I I didn't want to go to hell, clearly. Like, nobody wants to go to hell. But that was me saying I no longer wanted to live anymore. And that was hard to even get out. But that was my cry for help. And at that time, that person didn't even recognize that that was a cry for help, which no fault to him. Like, I didn't have the courage to actually say the words. I didn't have the courage to actually seek the help. But yeah, that was that. So then that was around, I would say, like May, June. Me and this person decided to go our separate ways July. And one night, after we had decided to go our separate ways, I had told this person that they can keep the apartment until the end of the lease, and I would move back into my parents' house. So he had left for the rest of that week, so I can pack up my things. And I told him I'd be out by that weekend. So the night before I was officially supposed to be out of the apartment, I was packing. At this point, I had started to grow my relationship with God. I was more curious. I was watching sermons. I was more interested on like his word and what he was saying and his will for my life and just things like that. I was just curious. At this point, I hadn't owned the Bible. I hadn't owned the Bible yet, but I was watching sermons and just praying like little prayers like, God, thank you for this day. Just little things like that, very surface level. So when this separation happened, when this breakup happened, I remember praying like, God, if this is not your will, like tell me. If you don't want me in this relationship, tell me. And he was making it very clear at that moment that this was not his will. Okay, so the night before I had to be out of the apartment, I walk into the office room that we had like a whole sneaker shelf, whatever. And I remember I had to start packing my sneakers. I had to start like take them off from the shelf, put them back in their boxes, and pack them up. And I walked in there and I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Like, this is so hard. And I don't know what it was about the sneakers, but it was about something about taking those sneakers off the shelf. Like, it just wrecked me. I fell to my knees, I fell to the ground, and I just start crying, hysterically crying. And I'm laying there with my both arms like wide open, just crying out to God, like, God, take me, take me. I can't do this anymore. Take me. And I can't tell you how many times I repeated that. Just take it. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't know what you have to do, but just I don't want to be here anymore. And I begged him, and I had to be laying there for at least like 2 to 3 hours. God, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want this pain. I can't handle it. I can't handle this pain. I can't handle this weight anymore. And as I'm laying there, I'm hours into sobbing, like non-stop sobbing. I hear a voice, and the voice said, "Get up." That's all I heard. Get up. And I'm like, I can't get up. I can't. And I hear it again. Get up. And I was like, I can't. Like, I just can't. I didn't have the strength to get up. And at this time, I didn't know what that voice was. I didn't know where this voice was coming from. I hear it again, and this time it was strong and it was firm, and the voice said, "Get up." And by the grace of God, I stood up and I finished packing my things. And with tears in my eyes, with no strength, absolutely no strength, I hadn't eaten in days. I finished packing my things and I texted my mom that night and I told her, I need you and dad to come to the apartment so you can take my things back to the house. And my mom, without question, she said, okay. The next morning, they showed up at like maybe 8 a.m. And yeah, I moved out. And after that, I feel like laying there is when I fully surrendered my life to God. Is when I fully just let go of control and I allowed him to take control of my life and just do what he needed to do. So after that, I was hurting. I was hurting bad. I was grieving the loss of this relationship. I was just grieving this person that I thought I was, how I thought my life would turn out, and seeing that it is not turning out that way. I'm back at my parents' house, sleeping on the floor on a mattress because I had given my bed away. I felt like I was starting from square one, like rock bottom, like, and it's so true when they say that he is your rock at the bottom, at rock bottom. I can testify that that statement is so true, and I had to reach rock bottom to know who my rock is. So as I'm now living in my parents' house, trying to find the strength to just start building my life up again from square one, from nothing, and I slowly but surely started to put my room back together, and like I just started doing little things that like I know I needed to do, but I was waking up every day and I didn't want to live. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be home. I didn't want to be anywhere. Like the safest place for me at that time was my car. I would spend hours on hours in my car, just either praying, talking to God, watching a sermon, listening to a podcast, like just trying to find anything and everything to help fix me because I didn't know what was wrong. Well, I knew like my life looked a mess, but I'm like, where is this depression coming from? Like, my life isn't that bad. Why do I feel this way? So, so then came the drinking. And if you have me on Instagram, you know, I talk about this pretty openly. After I feel like I gave my life to God and I moved back to my parents' house and like, I was like, all right, God, have your way, have your, like, do your will. I turned to drinking. I turned to the alcohol to numb out every single feeling. I didn't want to feel a thing. And I realized that, like, with alcohol, that was a way to numb everything I was feeling. So I would constantly drink. I would drink probably 3, 4 times a week. And after I left my job, so I had to leave my job to finish my master's degree. And that summer, when I had officially finished working, I was probably drinking every day. Like if it wasn't a wine, it was a beer, it was just tequila. Like it was almost daily that I was drinking. And at this point, I'm just like, oh, I'm living my best life. Like it's summer, I don't care. I'm outside. And like looking back, like I was numbing out the feelings. I was numbing out every emotion I was feeling. So it wasn't up until I would say October where summer ended. I'm now back in school. Now I'm doing my internship. So like there's a lot going on and I realized I can't just pick up the bottle at any point now. Like I need to sit here with my feelings. Like these car rides home, like either I'm leaving college or leaving my internship, like I was sitting in silence. And even with music on, I couldn't turn off my mind. My mind was just constantly like feeling these emotions and thinking these things. And I'm like, man, like it felt like God was telling me, I need you to heal. I need you to feel these emotions so that you can heal. So since life started to slow down, the drinking slowed down, the partying slowed down. Just summer was ending and it was starting to get colder outside. Everybody was spending more time inside. I had no choice but to spend time alone inside. And this is when I feel like God really got to work. He was like, finally, like I got this girl by herself without a bottle in her hand. Like now I can work on her. So I felt like in October, he finally, like I had to just feel all of those emotions. October, November, and December were probably the hardest months where I felt all the feelings, like all the feelings that I was ignoring, all the feelings that I tried to suppress were coming back up and they were coming strong every single day in tears. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't know who to call, who to talk to. Like it was rough. I would smile all day. I would be outside socializing. Like I would just, again, on the outside, I looked like everything was going great. I looked like I had everything put together to the point where people would tell me, oh, you healed so quickly. You moved on so quickly. Like you're glowing. Like you look so happy. And like, I'm like inside. All I could tell myself was only if you knew. Only if you knew the pain that I feel inside. And I always remind myself like the happiest people are probably struggling the most. And I remind myself because that was at some point that's where I was. And check on your strong friends. Check on the people that are always smiling because some of them might be going through some heavy things that they just don't know how to express. So yeah. So October, November, December were my hardest months. And then January came around. I'm still in school, but I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm starting to be more in tune with the Holy Spirit. I'm starting to feel God's love and protection all around me. Rewind. I decided to stop drinking. I said going into the new year, I'm no longer drinking. Gave it up. December 30th was actually my last drink. So January comes around. I said fresh year, like we're doing this thing. Like, we are healing. We are going to get past this, and we are going to see the light at the end of this tunnel. It was also the year I was graduating college, so I had things to look forward to. I also had a strong desire to move to Florida when I graduated. And it wasn't until March of 2024 where I felt God tell me, you're moving. And my certification exam for my master's degree in New York was coming up. And just joking around, I said, let me check Florida because I wouldn't receive my results until July. So I was like, let me just check Florida and see when I'd receive my results if I did take the test. So I looked up if there was a location in New York where I could take this test. And I kid you not, I believe this was on Thursday. My New York test was Friday. The only date for me to take my Florida certification exam was that Saturday. I had not studied. I had not looked at the material. I didn't know if it was the same, if it was different. I had no clue what to expect in this exam. But I prayed about it and I told God, God, if this is your will, I will pass this test. I'm going to register for it. I'm going to sign up and I'm going to take it. And if it is your will, I will pass this test. I don't have time to study. I don't have time to really look over the material. I trust you, and I trust you that you will be with me in that exam room, and that if this is your will, I will pass this test. So Friday comes around, I take my New York test. Again, those results don't come out until July. Saturday comes around. I get up nice and early. I planned my whole day. I said I was going to go take my test and then I was going to go to the spa on a solo date and get a massage. So I get to the testing site. I pray before I go in. I'm praying while I'm sitting there. I said, God, take this test. I start the test. Honestly, don't really know much of the material that was on there. A lot of it was like Florida state law, which I had no idea. I didn't study. I didn't get my degree in Florida. So again, I was going in blind, and all my only prayer was, God, if this is your will, like, let your will be done, and I will pass this test and I will move. I was under the impression that I would receive my results in 4 to 6 weeks. So I finished the exam and I walk outside and I tell the lady I'm done, whatever. She's giving me my like exit ticket or whatever. It was just a paper stating that I completed the exam. So I'm looking at the exam while I'm looking at the results or this paper that she gave me while she's like finishing up doing whatever she's doing. And I see it says results pass. And I'm like, are these my results? And she's like, I mean, what does it say? I'm like, it says results pass. She's like, yeah, it is. I couldn't say another word to her. I just said, thank you, have a good day. And I got into that car and I wept like a baby because I could not believe that I had passed this test and that God was telling me to move to Florida. That is when I received confirmation, strong confirmation, undeniable confirmation that God was calling me to move to Florida. And I sat in my car for like an hour just crying. And I didn't know what to do. And all I could say is, thank you, God, but I'm scared. Like now, the weight of the fact that God wants me to move just like settles in. And I'm like, how can I even do this? Like, I don't have a job. I don't have a place to stay in Florida. Like, how am I supposed to just pick up and move? I have spent my entire life in New York and now I'm supposed to move to Florida. And again, it's always been one of my desires, but to actually see that I had God's blessing to move, like, just hit different. So fast forward, I started looking up jobs in Florida and I applied, I believe it was to two. I believe I applied to two jobs and one was a school I'm at now. It was the first job I applied to and they called me for an interview and I'm actually in DR. I'm in DR for this interview. I'm I'm in DR when they call me and I'm like, I have my computer. Like, I can do this interview tomorrow if you wanted me to. And she's like, no, 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 don't worry. Enjoy your vacation. Let's schedule it for next week. So I dislocate my shoulder while I'm in DR. And now I'm like, great. Like, I have graduation next week. I have this interview next week. Like, how am I, like, just when life is going good, something happens. And I'm like, God, why is this happening? I dislocated my shoulder and it wasn't until like 2-3 hours later that I even got medicine to numb the pain. and the doctor was able to pop it back into place. So I'm just questioning. I said, why God? Why God? Like, God, why is this happening to me? I don't understand. Long story short, God's peace came down on me. He lifted that pain. And it wasn't until I asked, it wasn't until I surrendered it to him in that moment where I said, God, I can't do this anymore. I want you to either take me with you or take this pain because I can't handle this pain anymore. And I kid you not, in that moment, God lifted that pain from my shoulder to the point where the doctor walked in and asked me if I was the one with the dislocated shoulder because I was so calm. I was calm. She couldn't tell that my shoulder was dislocated. She couldn't tell I was in pain right before that because God came in and moved in that moment and lifted that pain. So, fast forward to a week later, it is my graduation day, and it is also the same day as my interview for the job I have now today. I sit in that interview, it's virtual, and the interview went great. And I log off the interview and I immediately start crying. And I start crying because I know this is God's will. I know, and I see him moving in my life. And I see him and I feel him moving in that moment. And I just feel like so much peace, like him just telling me, like, daughter, I have you, like, I've got you, it's okay, like, I will guide you through this process. So yeah, I graduated that day. Graduation went amazing. Fast forward now, this was May. Fast forward to June or July. I believe it was the end of June maybe. I fly out to Florida and I'm looking for apartments and I didn't find anything. There was nothing that like really caught my eye. Either it was too expensive. Then I'm also on the phone with the school. Oh, they offered me the job. Let's rewind. They offered me the job and I said, I'll get back to you in 2 days. And she was like, okay, no problem. This was on a Wednesday that they offered me the job. Thursday, I'm at my job now. I had a substitute job, a substitute counselor job. And I'm praying during lunch. I said, God, like, I don't want to take this, I don't want to move out of my emotions or my feelings. I want to move because I know that you are behind this. I know that you are leading the way. So that Thursday, I'm at lunch and I just feel him tell me, I already gave you my yes. Like, I already told you what I'm expecting and what I want and what's going to happen. And you're sitting here doubting me. Why are you doubting me? And I was like, all right, God. I said, all right, no problem. I called them back that same day. It was on Thursday. I called them back and I said, I'll take the job. She was like, oh, that was quick. I said, yeah. I said, God spoke to me. Like, I can't deny it. So I took the job, and that is when the hunt began for an apartment. Um, and about a month later, I fly down to Florida. I fly down to Florida looking for an apartment, and nothing really caught my eye. Things were really expensive, and I went back a little bit discouraged. But I said, God, I know you have a plan, and I know you already have somewhere for me to stay. So I continue looking and I find these like affordable apartments. Basically, you have to apply for them and it's income based. So I'm like, okay, I'm like, now I'm hopeful again. And I call them and they're like, oh, you have to be here to apply in person. And I'm like, great, I don't have time now. Now it's like a week or two before school begins, but before I'm actually supposed to be at work. Um, and I'm like, I'm talking to my parents and I'm like, I don't have time to fly down there and apply and then fly back up to then drive my car back down. I said, but I got to figure something out. So then I told my mom, I said, I think I'm going to leave that Thursday. She was like, okay, no problem. Like, just let me know when, because my mom was going to do the drive with me. Thursday, the week before I was supposed to start work. So I'm leaving. I told her, I think I want to leave Thursday and I'm supposed to be at work on Monday. And somehow I had the faith to know that when I got down there, God was going to have a place ready for me. And so I told her I was planning for Thursday. And then I felt God tell me, no, you're leaving Wednesday morning. And I said, okay, no problem. I told my mom, I said, Mom, we're leaving Wednesday morning so we can get to Florida Thursday morning and we'll go and apply that same day. So that's exactly how it happened. We left Wednesday at about 4 or 5 a.m., drove down, slept in Orlando that night, woke up the next morning, finished the drive, went straight to the apartments to apply. We toured them. didn't, it was not it. It was not it at all. I didn't feel safe, and that was one thing I wanted. I said, God, wherever you place me, please, I want to feel safe. I don't want to be in a dangerous neighborhood. It is my first time living in Florida. I'm moving here alone. I don't want to feel unsafe where I live. So I toured the apartments. No kidding, over 10 apartments I toured that day, and I did not like a single one. So, and it was just like that feeling like this isn't where God wanted me. So then, feeling discouraged, feeling defeated, I remember this apartment complex that I had toured the first time I came, and God put it on my heart to look this apartment up. And before I left New York, I had looked this apartment up. It was one, more expensive, and two, the available date was like sometime in August, and I needed the apartment. I needed a apartment by the end of July. So God put it on my heart to look up this place again, this place in particular. And I looked it up, and it said available July 27th. The same apartment that was available mid August, is now available July 27th. And the rent was cheaper. When I tell you, I got in that car and I drove directly here as fast as I could. And I'm calling the girl that I had spoke to, and she's not answering, and I'm like, I just got to get there. I got to get there. I walk into her office. I'm like, hey, you remember me? She's like, yeah, hey, how are you? Whatever. And I was like, you have an apartment available this Saturday. Mind you, it's Thursday. I said, you have an apartment available this Saturday, a 1-1. I need to see it. She's like, oh, I don't know if it's ready, but like, let's go. So we come, and living testimony, this is the apartment I'm in right now. We toured it, and I said, all right, I'm applying. God, I like when I tell you I felt peace about it. I applied by Friday. I believe it was Friday. She called me with the approval. By Saturday, I was here with keys in my hands, and I had to start work on Monday. Y'all, when I tell you God is good, He is good. When I tell you to lean on Him and lean on His word, and He will guide you every step of the way, I'm not lying to you. I'm not kidding. Let me be your testimony that walking by faith, He will not disappoint you. Anybody could have easily said, I'm not leaving New York without a set place to live, an apartment, somewhere where I know I'm going to be able to lay my head. I'm not leaving. I left solely because of a word that God gave me. I was able to leave New York because my trust was solely in God. It was fully in God. And man, like I just look back, and every time I see like a little inconvenience in my life, or like finances aren't where I wanted them, where I expected, my life isn't where I expected it to be, things happen. Like I lost two of my grandparents 3 months after moving here. Like life was not going well after I moved here, but I trusted God, and I knew He had a plan, and I knew He brought me here for a reason. And I just like anytime that I feel discouraged about anything, I'm like, no, God brought me here. Like I know I'm supposed to be here. And although I'm not seeing the promise yet, I know that He has a plan, and His plan is to give me hope and a future. Like I know I'm not here for no reason. And I just pray that I'm encouraging you to do what God is asking you to do. Trust Him, trust Him, trust Him. He will not fail you, He will not disappoint you. And there is so much power in one's testimony. And I feel like that is what God is teaching me. And that's what He's telling me in this season. There is power in my testimony. And I need to trust Him. And I need to allow Him to work and just be obedient to what He's calling me to do. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's pretty long, but I pray that it blessed you. And I pray that it gives you the encouragement, the hope, the faith that it takes to do whatever God is calling you to do. Stay tuned because I am back. Drop in the comments what you guys would like to see on this channel specifically. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.